Okay, welcome to episode 16. My name's Luke.
And I am George.
And today we are joined by Hugo of Cryptograph. This is a super exciting episode because we've got an exclusive first look at a project that's been largely in stealth mode for the last 2.5 years. Cryptographs are one-off creations made by icons and artists that are immutable and generate ongoing revenue for charity. And immutable in this case means that these 721 tokens are not even burnable. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff to unpack here. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the NonFunGerbils podcast, the show about digitally scarce gerbils, non-fungible assets, and the growing decentralized economy.
Okay, Hugo from Cryptograph, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure. This episode is a little bit different because George, also being one of the co-founders of Cryptograph, and also being your brother,
Indeed,
finds himself halfway between being the interviewer and being the interviewee today because he obviously knows a lot about the project. And in addition to that, I'm also a seed investor. So I know the project quite well, and I'm now helping to do the online community aspect and setting things up such as Crypto Voxel's gallery in the Discord. So so the idea today is that we can lay out a definitive guide to Cryptograph so that people can refer back to it when they want to learn about the project. It's got many layers to get excited about, so it would be good if we can lay them out simplistically and then move into each aspect and sort of cover everything broadly. So maybe we could start with a bit about your background. How did you get here, and who are Perpetual Altruism?
Yeah, big question. So Perpetual Altruism started about 2.5 years ago now. But before then, like I myself, background as an entrepreneur in the tech space, I started a couple of companies before Perpetual Altruism in real estate technology with the same founding team that I have here in Perpetual Altruism. And before that, I did a master's at Imperial College in innovation, entrepreneurship, and management. And after that, I worked for a little bit in wealth management and banking. And that's when, for about a year, and then after that, I started on the road of entrepreneurship. And yeah, so about gosh, I don't know how long ago now, 6 years ago now, probably longer. Me and George actually fell into the crypto space at the same time. You know, I remember the first time I met a guy who was talking to me about Bitcoin. It sounded extremely interesting to me. I was like, wow, this is crazy. I went and read the white paper. The next day, I actually sat down with George after having read the white paper, and he, through a totally different channel, had also just discovered it, and we just couldn't stop talking about it. And then we both, you know, we've both been through the ups and downs of the early crypto world. You know, we both jumped in Ethereum, you know, very early because we were really interested in its just in the scale of what it can achieve and what it is. And yeah, we've been up and down that roller coaster. But as I was, you know, experimenting in that world with George, I ended up going out and doing those couple of real estate technology businesses whilst George stayed in the space. And then about 2.5 years ago, me and the team came back and sat down with George, and we were discussing about opportunities in the blockchain space and the incredible kind of fertile world there is there to innovate on. And the seed of Perpetual Altruism and the cryptograph idea started between me, my two other co-founders, Gbm, Edward, and George, all this evening in this bar in London. And you know, that was 2.5 years ago, and now, you know, the rest is history. That's how Cryptograph began. And the company behind Cryptograph is Perpetual Altruism, because the idea of Cryptograph is to create a new form of NFT that exists, you know, truly forever. You can't burn them, and these NFTs can be collected and traded by people, by collectors and fans. And every time they are traded, it raises money for a charitable cause that the original creator wants to fund in perpetuity. And that's really why perpetual altruism and the Cryptograph platform, that was the seed of the idea. And the other thing that's really great about it, that's very exciting, is that cryptographs are created by world famous icons and artists. So the idea is that we're going out and we're trying to take this incredible NFT world and bring to it true collectability and true memorabilia like attributes to these collectibles, and blow the space wide open by bringing the mainstream into it, because the kinds of people that we have creating cryptographs on the platform are just really amazing and very talented.
Okay, so can you lay out the different layers that make up Cryptograph?
Yeah, so there are many. Let's start with the first one. So the first layer is basically one-of-a-kind digital creations made by famous people. So cryptographs it could be a song, it could be a piece of video performance art, it could be a digital rendering, a drawing, any piece of content that you can represent digitally made by a famous individual is essentially what a cryptograph is. That's the first layer. The second layer is that each one of these cryptographs, when the creator creates them, they pick a charitable cause that they would like their cryptograph to fund. And the cryptographs can't be burnt, they can't be destroyed, they exist forever. So every single time it's transacted, it raises money for the original creator, for a cause that they want to support, and then a little bit for the Cryptograph platform, for Perpetual Altruism Ltd, our business, and so that we can take that revenue and reinvest it into the platform and grow it and create more cryptographs. And the idea is a big sustainable philanthropic business model that underpins the whole platform. Then I guess there's a third layer, which is where it gets a little bit more technical and deep, but it's probably one of the most exciting parts of the whole platform, and that is the auction and trading system that we've developed, which is only really possible thanks to smart contracts and programmable money. And this system we think is going to be really, really exciting, not just for our platform, but for lots of other use cases out there in the world where you've got an unpriceable asset and you need to have an effective way of price discovery. So cryptographs are sold initially through an auction. And today on the blockchain, most of the auctions that we see are Dutch auctions, where the price starts at something and then it begins to drop and you come in at a certain price as it goes lower, and then you win the asset. Now, in our system, we've created a new auction model that we've called the Gbm Auction, which stands for Gbm McDonaugh, which is just the surnames of the founders. And the way it works is if you've got an asset that, say, okay, Luke, you think it's worth 100. George, you think it's worth 150. If we put that into a normal English auction today, if bidding got to 105, George, you'd pay 105, Luke would drop out, and you would get the asset for 105. The issue with this system in many ways, though, is that you had a price ceiling of 150, George, that you were willing to pay for this asset, but you weren't driven to that level. So we didn't really find the true possible price discovery of this asset. And what's really interesting that you can do with smart contracts is you can create the incentive to bid. So what we've done is in our auction system, if you bid 150, George, and Luke bid 200, you would actually walk away with 150 and a kicker. You'd walk away with like 155. So you are incentivized to bid and you make a financial reward if you get outbid. And so what this means is what we're really doing is we are rewarding people who are helping to discover the value of the asset. And this is a really exciting new way of price discovery. And we think it's going to be really, really interesting to see how that's, combined with the NFT collectible that we want to produce. And we think it's going to be, a really powerful tool. And we're really excited to see how people behave. So yeah, then there's obviously the website, the front end build where you come and you trade and you collect and you interact with all of the cryptographs in circulation. Then we also have an app which is where if you own a cryptograph and you're a collector, you can hold all your cryptographs on your app. You can display them to others through the app. And if you're the owner of the cryptograph, you're the owner of the token, only you are able to represent your collection through the app. And then I guess, I explained the initial auction system, but I guess I should also probably explain how the secondary market works as well, because there is obviously a secondary market for these items, and we want this secondary market to continue perpetually. That's the idea. So, if George, let's say, was the winner of the auction, he was the last highest bid, and he won the cryptograph, he would then be receiving offers all the time hopefully from other people around the world who would like to buy his cryptograph from him. And George can only accept the current highest offer available to him. And so what this does in many ways actually is it stops black markets from occurring, because the game theory behind the system incentivizes people to place offers and place bids on the secondary market, because if you get outbid like in a normal auction, you make a return. The fact that George can only accept the current highest offer means that he can't do deals with other people that undercut its true value. And that's really exciting, because we always want these things to be going for their true value. But so what would happen on the secondary market is if George accepted one of these highest offers, that would automatically start a new auction. It would automatically start another GBM auction for a certain period of time. And then everybody can see this thing that's currently on auction, and they can, just like when it goes on an initial auction, they can all bid against each other to try and win it again. And the person with the highest bid at the end of the time wins the asset again. And that's how the secondary market trading functions.
So that's a case of George has a cryptograph that I want.
Yeah.
I want to buy it off him.
Yeah.
There's no way to go around the auction mechanism. So I have to place a bid on that he wants to accept.
Yeah.
And then when he accepts it, that kickstarts a new auction at that price as the sort of minimum price.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And so therefore you always find true value of the item when it sells.
Yeah.
And every time it sells, it's always bringing money into the charity or whoever or whatever cause it's designated to on the outset.
Exactly. So there's obviously the initial proceeds from the auction minus the incentives that we pay to all of the participants. That gets distributed to the charity, the creator, if they've decided to take a share, and then a little bit to perpetual altruism. And then on the secondary market, when there's a transaction between a buyer and a seller, there's a transaction fee that's taken, and then that's also revenue that it produces that is then split again amongst charity, creator, and perpetual altruism. So, yeah, it's a forever. It's like a digital legacy, a cryptograph. A creator creates this thing, it exists forever, and it's constantly carrying out its purpose of raising funds for all of the people who are part of the value creation network of Cryptograph.
So what are the implications of the auction mechanism when it comes to incentivizing people to bid or speculators on the bidding?
Yeah.
What will that lead to potentially?
Well, I think that it's going to lead to very interesting market dynamics and price discovery dynamics that we haven't really seen before potentially. I mean, you're going to have when you go in to place a bid, whether you're motivated purely for financial gain or you're motivated because you want to own the asset, both of those behaviors are going to be part of the marketplace, and it's going to just be really interesting to see how those behaviors collide, and when they collide, how that generates more value for everybody involved. And so, that's the theory is that by spreading out the final proceeds to everybody who's participated, the final actual asset value is higher. And one of the biggest winners out of all of this will be the charity. And so, we think that it's going to be a really, really interesting tool that charities can use forever to be able to find a new way to raise funds. And for us, it's really important as well because, I've got a background in impact investment. I spent quite a lot of time working on sustainable philanthropy as an idea and how, for-profit corporations can combine with philanthropy and effectively create sustainable business models that do good. And for me, the cryptograph system and the model and the price discovery system, the whole recipe that we've just been, breaking down is I think one of the most interesting and brilliant forms of sustainably philanthropic business models of the future, and I'm really excited to see the impact that it has.
So Hugo, break down exactly what a cryptograph is. Paint a picture in the minds of the listeners as to what an example of a cryptograph would be.
Sure. So a cryptograph is really a digital piece of content that is collectible, that's made by a famous individual or group of famous people. It could be a song, a video performance, a digital artwork, a 3D design, a piece of prose, any piece of content that can be represented digitally. And it's a mixture between a work of art and a piece of memorabilia made by one of these famous individuals. So, for example, earlier this year, we had a relief benefit event in LA, in Hollywood, which was designed to try and get celebrities to create a bunch of these cryptographs to help raise funds for the Australia wildfire crisis. And these will be some of the first cryptographs that we're launching on the platform. And we had someone like Kristen Wiig, for example. She did this really cool geometric piece of art on an iPad, on a tablet, and that's her cryptograph. That will be her NFT, is that piece of artwork. Obviously, all of the works are signed by the individuals. Tom Morello, for example, did a really cool animal drawing for his cryptograph, and then it goes from there to like even the more kind of like crazier stuff. Like, for example, Vitalik did a really cool cryptograph. He did a rendition of his quadratic funding formula, which is pretty out there. It's very, very cool. And so there's a wide array of possible cryptographs, but the ones that are going to come to the platform first are going to be these digital artworks, these digital renderings made by these kinds of individuals.
So I'm a huge Rage Against the Machine fan. I have I hear rumors that they might actually be reforming, which would be very cool. So I obviously want to get Tom Morello's cryptograph. Talk me through how I go about doing that.
Right. So I mean, all of the trading and the buying and selling of cryptographs take place on the website. So you'd go to www.cryptograph.co and you'd go straight through to the landing page, and you'd see the cryptographs currently on auction or the ones that are owned by other people who's on a secondary market auction. And you'd log in with your Web3 enabled wallet. Or if you don't have a wallet, you would sign up to the Cryptograph system, and you'd be given a wallet. And from that wallet, you'd also have an on-ramp, so you can spend your dollars to get the ETH very easily. So we're trying to make this as accessible to the mainstream as possible, because that's who we want to attract into this space with this kind of quality of content and collectible. And then once you've got your ETH in your wallet and you're on the website, you're ready to go. You can bid on anything that you're interested in owning or interested in participating in helping to define the price discovery. And you have a collection on there, so you can show off your collection to others within your profile. And also you can have the app working in tandem with the website. So once you've bought something, once you own something, you can show it on your app. You can carry it around offline on your app, and it's your digital collection. It's your cryptograph collection. And so that's how you would go about getting one, if there was one out there that you really wanted to own.
Okay, so when it comes to launch, what's that going to look like, and who are you launching with?
So one of the there's going to be, think of it kind of like a Christie's or a Sotheby's. We're going to have curated auctions coming one after another over a period of time from day one of launch, and there's going to be certain types of themes and people in each of these auctions, and there will be some auctions will have a specific cause that they're all supporting, and other auctions will be a mishmash of people and individual causes, because each cryptograph's cause is picked by the creator. So there's going to be a lot of different ones out there. But for the first one, we want to do this auction off the really great artworks that were made as part of the Australia Relief Wildfire Benefit event that we had, and so that'll be part of it. We've also got a few that we'd like to more recently that we'd like to put out there that help support the coronavirus crisis and those on the front line and food banks, etc. And then we've also going to have, we'd like to have a crypto artist auction further down the line, probably an auction that's made up of some contemporary artists, an auction with some musicians. There'll be an auction that's maybe more specifically catered to actors and actresses from certain verticals, whether it's like TV or film or drama. And then there's going to be a big crypto kind of personalities auction. So the people who, the real thought leaders and innovators in our space, many of which, I very much admire. They've done some really cool artworks as well, and they'll be going out during the first few months from launch as well. So there's lots that's going to come, and I hope get ready, basically.
So how does the philanthropy model of Cryptograph work, and why is it interesting?
So, yeah, I mean, it's a big question, and it's one that, a lot of people are going to have, because it always gets murky in many cases when you're mixing for-profit entities with philanthropy. But I'm a really big believer in the future of capitalism in many ways is exactly that, and doing that in a way that creates sustainable long-term and delivers real value for charitable partners and charitable causes. And so we've taken that idea of sustainable philanthropy and really modeled the whole Cryptograph platform on it. So the way that often philanthropy and for-profit entities interact today is, you might get companies that do one-off sponsorship or branding events, and then they'll sell some items, and part of the proceeds or all of the proceeds for that specific event will go to a cause. But the problem with this is it's not sustainable. The charities rely on these kind of piecemeal handouts and events that happen over time, and it doesn't lead to long-term value generation for the charity. And so I don't think that's a hugely effective model. Then there's another model that some companies have been employing, which I think is really great, which is profit sharing. So, rather than just doing one-off events every now and again when it suits the corporation's brand, they actually build into the DNA of their company a percentage share of their profits to a charitable cause. And that's really good. The problem with that, though, is that it can be very opaque. It's not very transparent, because there's a lot of creative accounting things that companies can do to show that, we haven't made any profit, but we've actually generated a whole bunch of revenue. So the next stage that some companies do out there is they do a revenue share. So they give a small percentage of their overall revenue as a share to a charitable cause. And that, for me, is already probably the best form of for-profit, philanthropic combination to create long-term impact for charities. And, I think that's really great. And I think companies should be doing more of that. But Cryptograph is kind of built on taking that all a lot further. So the first off is on Cryptograph, everything that goes to charity is a share of revenue, not a share of profit. So we're directly in partnership with the charity. When we're making £1, the charity's making £1 or more. I mean, 10% of every single cryptograph that's ever going to be created in circulation, 10% of the revenue is going to be going to charity and charitable causes. And for many cryptographs, depending on the initial creator's plan, some are going to be doing far, far more than that. Upwards of 70% of every piece of revenue that cryptograph makes will be going to charity. So it's varying and it's very flexible, and it depends on the cryptograph. But the idea is that there is a really big chunk of revenue share that's going out to these causes from the cryptograph. The second thing is that it all happens on chain. So all of the transactions are happening on chain. So there isn't really more of a transparent environment out there to see how this revenue is generated and how much of this revenue is generated. So there's no creative accounting tricks that can be done when it comes to cryptographs and the revenue that they generate for charity, which is also really, really powerful. And transparency is really core. And then, the third part to this is that we've created this Renatus function, which means that you can't burn a cryptograph. So, if you put the token in a wallet and then you get rid of the private key and no one can access that token and no one can trade it and it's not carrying out its purpose, after a certain period of time, if no one has interacted with it, and the owner who's being pushed to be asked press this button, or show that you still own the token or have access to it, if that can't be proven over a period of time, the cryptograph actually reinitiates its code and puts itself back on the market. So they are perpetually existing, and this is really cool because it means that the charitable revenue that is designed to be created through the trading of these things will continue forever. You can't get rid of these things, and that's really, really cool. So that's the third part. Is it's like you're going to a charity and you're saying, look, create something with one of your ambassadors, or we'll go out and create something, and it will exist forever, and it will permanently be raising funds for the cause, and that's really exciting. And then the fourth part to it is really the fact that because we are a for-profit company, of course, but because we do take part of the revenue share as well, that gives us a sustainable model through which we can reinvest back into the technology, reinvest into the brand, reinvest into the production of cryptographs, and further deliver more impact over a longer period of time for other charities, for our existing charities, and for all of the other stakeholders involved in the ecosystem. And that's really the whole idea. It's a sustainable philanthropic model that's really impactful, and not just kind of a little bit of flashy branding to put on your company, because it's intrinsically in the DNA of the business and of the model of how the company operates. And that I think is really cool. It's something that I'm very into, and it's something that I think could be a blueprint for many other companies to come that they can follow.
In terms of longevity, you need to create a sort of strong community of buyers and sellers over time. Because, of course, every time one of these is traded, money goes to charity. And so that's, on the one hand, number of cryptographs available. The second thing is obviously the cryptograph brand as something that people want to collect items from. And then obviously a wide network of people and community of people who are interested in owning such items. We're at a very new time in terms of this technology. The NFT world is still very small in comparison. Do you talk us through how you see these three areas expanding? Because there is the sense that when you're talking about fame and you're talking about people who are known throughout the world, there is the potential to bring in new people into the NFT space. Talk us through those three elements.
Well, that's a huge part of also what we're trying to do. I mean, we are, as a team, very keen on NFTs and blockchain, and we love Ethereum and many other things, and so obviously we want this to be a big part of the future of the world, this technology. And we see so much incredible opportunity and room for innovation with it. So, for us, the kinds of people that we have creating and the kinds of content that they are creating, and the meaning and the importance and the gravitas that they're putting into their cryptographs are really, I believe, really desirable. And it's fundamentally like owning a piece of exceptional memorabilia, but for the digital age. And that's I think going to be definitely, of course, a draw to our early adopters and our existing NFT community and the people who we all know well. But also I think it's going to be a really big draw to the mainstream, because it's about telling the others out there who are the fans of these creators that it is, for the first time, a truly unique one-off digital piece of content made by this individual that only you can own. And that's a really, we all know how crazy an idea that is when you think about how the internet operates, but it's real, and we're doing it for the first time with what I believe is really, really valuable and interesting and meaningful art, really, and memorabilia and collectibles from our creators. So I think it's going to bring a lot of new people into the space. I think we're trying to make it as accessible as possible for those new people who are not crypto natives. And I think that it will be a big draw for them, because, at the end of the day, these creators are also hopefully going to be going out and amplifying what they've done and what they're a part of to their own communities as well. And so I think that we're going to be bringing a lot of really interesting new people into the space.
So what does the onboarding process look like? Because that's one of the tricky things with bringing non-crypto native people into this ecosystem.
Yeah,
is the way of onboarding them and making the process easy.
Well, obviously we've got two types of users. You've got the crypto savvy and the not crypto savvy, if I'm going to be sort of black and white about it. And the crypto savvy can just come in and log in with whatever Web3 wallet they want to use and start interacting with the platform using their Ether. But for those that are not crypto savvy, as it were, they come to the platform and they can essentially sort of sign up as you would normally on a site and create a wallet using a provider that we've partnered with. And from that wallet, from that same interface, you can, using bank transfer or credit card, get some Ethereum very quickly into that wallet using your fiat currency. And then straight from there, all within the same interface, start trading on the platform. So we've been working hard on trying to integrate an easy to use, understandable on-ramp combined with a digital kind of wallet and how that interacts with the platform and how you have this like digital balance of digital currency and how easy it is to understand that alongside the trading, etc. And, we think we've done a pretty good job of it. It's been a lot of work, but I think that we've definitely got something that the mainstream are going to be able to work with. And also, I think that, the uniqueness of what we're creating and of the assets that are being made and the collectibles that are going to be on the Cryptograph platform, that a lot of people, I think, will jump through. It's still a hoop, but it's much more of an easier hoop than we would have been able to implement a year ago, say. But I think that they will jump through it to get to what's on the other side. And I think that actually by jumping through hoops sometimes, it makes what's on the other side even more rewarding because you've been on a journey to get to it. And I think that there's an element of that in what we are doing. But we have tried to make it as simple as possible as you can in today's crypto world for the mainstream.
Yes. So if there's a big enough incentive there, then people will go out of their comfort zones a little to get it, as long as it's not too difficult. And there's clearly quite a lot to take in for this project. Yeah.
It's a deep project. It's been 2.5 years in stealth mode and in the making, and there's a lot in there, a lot of thinking. We've got quite a big white paper that will be which will be coming out to the community soon, and we're ready to put what we've been grafting on for years out there into the world, and we hope that it does what we intend it to do.
So what does your roadmap look like at the moment?
So ideally we're launching, in fact, coronavirus has managed to put delays on all things, but actually for us, it hasn't dramatically affected us. And so the plan is to launch and then from that point, bring different auctions out and different content out over time and grow and build this cryptograph ecosystem that we want to develop.
So what does the future look like for these cryptograph holders? You've got a presumably, is it one-off piece that has been auctioned? They're not editions, are they?
Yeah, so cryptographs are one of one. The idea of editions is something that we're not necessarily adverse to, and is something that could exist in the future for other cryptographs that come further down the line. But we really love the idea of true uniqueness and one of one, and that's how we are going about things from the beginning. And possibly editions might be a part of the future roadmap of Cryptograph, but we're keener on the one of one idea, and that's how we want to start. The other thing that cryptographs become, I mean, as a cryptograph owner, you obviously, you're the only one in the world that owns the asset. You can display it in certain ways. You can showcase it in the app. You can, you have a bunch of access rights to this thing and ways of displaying this thing that people who are just viewers don't have. And the other thing you have is, as a cryptograph owner, you have a right to vote on upgrades that we put forward to the smart contract. So it's it's decentralized in terms of the governance changes that we would make to the smart contract if we needed to. Everybody who owns a token, owns a cryptograph, has a right to vote on whatever we put are putting forward to the community. And also in the future, where things get quite exciting, I can't talk too much in detail, but at the end of the day, the cryptograph is a link really between you and the creator, the owner of the cryptograph and the creator. And so further down the line, there'll be some cool things that will be happening where, if you're the owner of the cryptograph, you'll have first dibs, as it were, to access potentially certain rewards or things that could be put on offer or benefits from the creator side of the cryptograph. So, and that'll be a really exciting thing when it happens. And I think that it'll be very interesting for owners to not only have this incredible piece of unique bit of history, but at the same time, a unique bit of history that actually can unlock more over time. So that's definitely part of the future roadmap of cryptograph.
I suppose going along that line of thinking, that would be a way of continuing value by appealing to new people in different ways going into the future or further down the line.
Yeah. So we want cryptograph's value to exist forever and for that vibrant community to be around them and for the market to be as dynamic as possible for forever because of everybody who's sharing in the value of the system, particularly charities and the creators that are putting in the work behind these things. And so when we attach other rewards further down the line to those that own cryptographs, and that unlocks other certain things or gives them certain rights that they can get things first than others and that kind of thing, that's really, for us, it's a great way to continue the long-term value of these things, which is the whole idea. That's perpetual altruism. That's the company behind Cryptograph. That was the idea.
And one of the things you touched on much earlier, but I think it would be worth exploring, is the immutable nature of a token not being burnable, so bringing itself back into existence. Because that raises a lot of questions around, do you actually own the token?
Yeah, I think right now in this space, one of the biggest things that we're actually all really doing is exploring the idea of ownership. Like that's what we're really doing in the NFT space. Like everyone is exploring different forms of it. How much is on chain, how much is off chain, how much is centralized, how much is decentralized. All of these questions really come round to, well, what exactly am I owning? How much of it am I owning? How do I own it? And all these things. So we've obviously been doing loads of thinking around that, and we think our recipe is a great one for the future, given the purposes of what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve. But when it comes to owning a cryptograph, the Renatus function, I think of the great branding that Patek Philippe did, that watch company, when they say that you don't own a Patek Philippe, you merely look after it for the next generation, right? Like people who have Picassos in their rooms or extraordinary works of art, they're not there. They can't burn or destroy those works of art. The estate of Picasso would be extremely unhappy if someone took an original piece and burnt it, and I think that there would be some legal problems in doing such a thing. So, already ownership as an idea does take many different forms. And on Cryptograph, you absolutely do own your cryptograph in all the ways that you can own the cryptograph without destroying the purpose of it at the same time. And the idea is to bring people behind that same purpose and behind that same idea of the ownership. And we're just putting forward this kind of new model of ownership and these new ideas of ownership that we think are really more productive and does give someone everything they need as an owner. And in the future of the Cryptograph platform, there's going to be much more interesting things happening and experimental things happening where, someone might release their cryptograph and they might be attaching other certain rights than the standard ones that come with a cryptograph to their cryptograph. And so we might find situations where, people are trading and collecting cryptographs that have commercialization rights attached to them or other forms of monetization rights. And this is something that we'll be exploring in the future. And again, we'll change certain forms of ownership and certain purposes of the ownership for certain cryptographs in certain ways. I mean, I know that sounds pretty vague, and a little bit out there, but that's a large part of what the platform wants to experiment in. But no, you definitely do. When you buy a cryptograph on the platform, you own, through the chain, you own that cryptograph. You have that token that represents the ownership of that piece. Absolutely.
The content itself exists where?
So the content is obviously exists on our website and in the app and everything within our own ecosystem, but it's also stored on IPFS and other peer-to-peer networks, as well as the IPFS hash being stored on Ethereum, to make sure that it's there forever in the event that we might disappear for whatever reason. Like the idea is these are perpetual and they exist forever, so the content will always be available. That's a very important point, actually. Yeah.
So thinking about burning cryptographs, one of the functions of an ERC 721 is that you have your transfer function, which allows you to gift or send a token to another wallet. How have you approached implementing this when each sale is directed through the auction mechanism?
So, no, yeah, it's a super good question. So the ERC 721 standard, when it came about, does have a transfer function in it that is payable, but it's very rarely enacted by publishers and marketplaces, etc., of 721 NFTs today. And for us, obviously, because we want to incentivize all of the people who create value over the long term in the ecosystem to garner value, we made an extension to the ERC 71 standard through an EIP, currently called ERC 2665. And what this does is it really makes the transfer function for publishers mandatory. So, I mean, it's an optional thing that you can use, but in the cryptograph case, it's mandatory. And so with every single transaction and transfer of the cryptograph, whether it's on, our marketplace or elsewhere, this fee is paid to transfer. And what this does is always make sure that, the charity and the creator and everybody involved in creating value for this ecosystem in this piece gets a piece of the reward, gets remunerated. And, we think this extension to the standard is great. I think it's like, it's a whole new form of how you can do things in the space, and it's a new layer of how an NFT can be transacted and traded and transferred. And, it still means that people can gift. It still means that people can do all the things that they want to do with their NFT, but they just have to pay this fee to do so. But that's core in what a cryptograph does as a legacy, which is always, giving back to everybody that helps create value so that they're incentivized to deliver long-term value actually to the end collector. Because if every single time this thing is transacted and owned and transferred, right, if there's a fee that's generated from that, the people behind its initial creation want to keep delivering value to it. And, that's where things like access value and other things in the future get really, really exciting, because, this thing actually becomes a link between the creator and the collector. But, I can't go into too much detail about that, but there's the whole reason for that incentive system existing is so that we can deliver that long-term end value to the collectors and everybody else involved. And so, yeah, the EIP that we put forward, the ERC 2665 extension, is, for that ERC 71 standard, we think a really, it's essential for how cryptograph operates in our vision, but we think it might also be a really interesting thing that the wider community might experiment with and adopt, because now there is a way using the standard and getting all the same interoperability benefits that publishers can be incentivized over the secondary trading of these things to continue to deliver value. And obviously, yeah, it still allows for gifting.
Can we start there with how it would work on the cryptograph platform? So say I have a cryptograph and I want to gift it to George, and I don't want to sell it to him. I don't want it anymore, but I'd quite like George to have it, or I'm giving it to my daughter or something like that. How does the process start there?
So it would be an option in your profile, like in your account section of the when you're connected with your wallet to our website, you would be given an option saying, okay, I want to transfer the token, right, or I want to gift it, and you'll input the address you want to gift the token to, and then you will be told the fee that you have to pay to transfer the token, and that fee is based upon the price discovery system of our whole platform. It'll be a percentage of the last sold or transacted price of the cryptograph, and it will be doing 15% of what that value is will be the necessary fee to transfer the token and gift.
Okay, I see.
And that's it, really. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's quite simple. And how might someone else use that? Because obviously, when you've got an auction mechanism and everything that it's based on, how would another project use that EIP?
Well, they'd implement the ERC 2665 standard, basically, i.e. the 71 with our extension. And they would create similar UX to us if they were doing it through their website and their front end that allows for the gifting, the transfer of this token for a fee. And they can set their own fee. They could set, it's completely open to them and flexible as to how they want to implement it. But it's basically a case of use the code that's there for everyone to use and build your own UX as to how you want to administer it and set your own fee. In our case, it's specifically linked to obviously our price discovery and our auction system, which is a little bit different to how somebody else might implement it. Just saying, okay, it's a flat fee of 5% to transfer, or it's just a flat fee of 1F to transfer.
So I suppose if you were super rare or somewhere like that, then you might say, the artist gets 10% of all ongoing revenue. But then if they transferred it, if they sold it on OpenSea, for example, or actually even if they didn't sell it on OpenSea, perhaps if they'd have a transfer fee of 10% of the last sale, I suppose, would it be able to draw that? Would it be able to draw that without having the auction mechanism to set the price in the first place?
Yeah, it can. You can set your own oracle. You can set your own pricing oracle. You can do whatever you like from the way we've implemented the extension.
I suppose it could just read the history on OpenSea, couldn't it, for example?
Right. You can read any oracle. You can read any price inflow system that you want to set the transfer fee of your token.
Okay.
In our case, it's our innovative price discovery and trading system with the GBM auction.
So gathering up celebrities to make cryptographs, that must be one of the hardest parts of this, I'd imagine. How did you go about doing that?
Yeah, that was definitely a very big challenge. Like with anything like this, it's difficult to start, but once you've started and you've got your first few, the ball really starts rolling. And when we got it started a while back, we've managed to gain a lot of steam. I mean, at the beginning, we were focusing a lot on the crypto community and a lot of the leaders in that space and the personalities in that space. And that's when I flew to Japan to go to DevCon and get some of the great Ethereum creators on board, and that was very exciting and really fun to do. And then from there we had this. We started to get interest in Hollywood, and we brought some great partners on board to help us with the outreach there. And we went and did this big event, this big party in the hills, and we got a lot of really great creators to come around and support a really great cause and create their cryptographs. Yeah, since then it's just gone up another gear in terms of the level of interest and the amount of traction that we're getting on that side of things. And so yeah, it's the ball is rolling, and there's lots of really, really exciting creators coming on board. But it was like with anything, it's chicken and egg, right? It's a very difficult thing to get started, but you find a few ways to light the spark, get the flame going, and then it just grows. And we're definitely at that period now, but it took time.
Will one of the themes be NFT art, crypto art?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. I mean, that's going to be one of our early ones. We really want to celebrate the burgeoning crypto art community. I'm a big fan, and there's lots of really cool creative stuff happening there. And we want to be a platform that shines more light on it and brings it more to the foreground. And so we'll definitely be looking to do that and get involved in that.
What do you hope the impact of this project will be specifically on the NFT space? Outside of that, I can clearly see bringing new people on board and so on and so forth. But the people who actually love and understand this space, how do you see something like Cryptograph entering the market?
Well, first, I hope that they embrace it and they see what we're trying to do, and they see the innovations that we're trying to put into the space, and the potential of doing things a little bit differently, which we're very much, putting forward here at Cryptograph. And I hope that what we do put forward sets a blueprint for other people to follow and to utilize when further innovating in the NFT space. And I hope that these cryptographs become the things that we want them to be, which is, the really desirable, interesting, beautiful, collectible, meaningful NFTs that we want them to be, and that we want the community to get behind and trade and collect, and of course, as you say, bring much more new blood into the space.
Well, Hugo, this has been fascinating, and it's great to finally lift the veil on Cryptograph and unleash it to the world.
Yes, 2.5 years of stealth mode, and now suddenly this thing will be unleashed. Exactly.
Well, so thank you very much for coming on and explaining it all, and we look forward to the launch.
Indeed, imminent launch coming in very soon. And go check us out on our Twitter at Cryptograph. Go check us out on our Instagram. Come to www.cryptograph.co and come check out the website, and also come definitely join our Discord, which is where a lot of our community activity will be happening. And there's going to be lots of exciting things coming down the pipeline very soon.
Thanks, bro. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, George. Great to have a chat as always. And thanks for having me on the podcast. Cheers.